1 month ago today, and it appears there is a second man on that rooftop throwing something as well. ABC7 News reporter Vic Lee is there for us live. Vic.
Well, we just witnessed the arrest of the person, I believe, who was throwing rocks and metal debris at police just a little while ago. There was another person also on the roof, but I am told that he went up there apparently to get that person to stop, to come down. So there was one person on that roof who was throwing debris at police. I don't believe he hit any of the officers who are standing here in a perimeter, but we did see one person, a protester or a passerby, who was hit in the head, and he was being treated by medics. Now, the police are here in a perimeter. They are here in force, just standing by. There are 4 protesters behind me here who are sitting down on the street. Apparently, they're not under arrest. They are obviously there in defiance of the police. Occupiers became angry and confrontational when police tried to set up metal barricades in front of the building. One person got up on the roof and began throwing rocks at police. The group of about 200 marched up from Van Ness and took over this building on TURK near Franklin. They hurled banners from the roof and invited others to come inside and join them. They want to make this an urban commune, in their words, to reclaim and liberate it for the people.
We're offering medical care. We're offering housing to folks. We're going to be having food distribution.
Occupiers began immediately transforming the empty building into a hostel-like environment, designating rooms for use by the public. They quickly tore down the fence that had surrounded the building. Earlier at 11 this morning, protesters gathered at Mission and 16th Street to rally for immigrant rights. They blocked the intersection, entertaining curious onlookers with street theater. Then, more street theater and speeches after they gathered at Market in Montgomery. They were joined by another much larger group of mostly union workers. Demonstrators used the street as their canvas, painting a giant sun.
This is the 99% rising up. This is the sun coming up, a new day in America.
We bumped into suspended Sheriff Ross Mercarimi, who said he was there to lend his support to the movement.
The people of this country, I think, should glean from what is being said here. There's a great frustration, a great outrage.
The protests earlier today were peaceful, but last night a group estimated at 50 to 100 people dressed in the anarchist black garb broke away from an Occupy rally in Dolores Park and launched a vandalism spree. They began smashing windows, throwing paint, and defacing storefronts and cars between 13th and 16th Streets and the Mission. This morning, merchants were cleaning up, and they were shocked and confused.
Defacing local businesses that are the heart and soul of the city, it just doesn't make any sense.
Again, there is a standoff here in front of 888 TURK Street. You can see police on this side of the street. They are in front of the building, which is owned by the Catholic Archdiocese. This is the second time they've taken over this building. There are 4 protesters who are squatting in front of them in defiance, in obvious defiance. They are not under arrest. There are other protesters inside the building. The doors have been closed. So the standoff continues. Vic Lee, ABC7 News.
All right, Vic, thanks very much. Now, let's take a look at pictures from Sky 7 HD of what's been happening in Oakland. This is a live picture. The protesters just left San Antonio Park, where the marchers made a pit stop on their way from the Fruitvale BART station to Frank Ogawa Plaza, where they're headed next, the site of so many Occupy rallies and demonstrations over the past year or so.
Now, today's demonstrations have been largely unscripted and staged without permits. We've seen people streaming into the streets, disrupting traffic, and directing their anger at the banks.
Police have been out in force, as you can see, trying to contain the protesters, sweeping them off the streets as best they could, and threatening to arrest anyone who did not disperse. At least 9 people have been taken into custody for refusing their orders.
But it was this incident, the arrest of a demonstrator on a bicycle, that triggered an outburst of violence this afternoon. For more on that, Laura Anthony and Nick Smith are live in downtown Oakland right now. Nick, start us off and tell us why that bicycle protester was taken down like that.
Carolyn, I'm going to tell you that it's right behind me where demonstrators clashed with police in riot gear. And Chief Howard Jordan tells me that, you know what, Nick, once night falls, we're expecting an even larger demonstration. A peaceful protest in Oakland quickly turned violent. The clash between hundreds of demonstrators and police in riot gear happened just before noon. The protesters were marching down Broadway to Frank Ogawa Plaza, and it was at the intersection of 14th and Broadway when police moved in to make an arrest, slamming this demonstrator on a bicycle to the ground. Police would not go into the methods they are using for crowd control, but did confirm to ABC7 News that both tear gas and flash grenades were used. Police were even forced to taser one demonstrator.
Don't take pictures. Send everybody in the sidewalk.
We have seen at least 6 arrests. Caught in the middle, small business owners who can only watch and wait to see what happens.
I like doing what I'm doing.
Maurice Arroyo has owned and operated Cafe Madrid in downtown Oakland for 8 years and fears what can happen when a crowd gets out of control.
Well, I get worried about, obviously, property damage. I've had a window broken in the past.
Chief Jordan did say that they will allow people to express their First Amendment rights, but they will maintain crowd control.
We noticed that the tempo of the crowd was a lot more assertive, a lot more aggressive, and so we had to make some adjustments to be able to respond to that.
There were small amounts of vandalism. An Oakland police van was damaged, and so were the windshield and tires of a news media van.
I have a razor blade in my back pocket, sir.
Oakland police are expecting as many as 1,000 demonstrators later tonight. Dan, Carolyn, we can confirm that 9 arrests have been made and that Oakland PD are using an additional tool to aid them with demonstrators. Most officers' uniforms have been equipped with small cameras. In Oakland, Nick Smith, ABC7 News.
All right, Nick, thanks. You are getting a sense of the intensity out there. ABC7 News reporter Laura Anthony is live with us as well tonight. Laura, give us your perspective on the arrest of that bicycle protester.
Well, Dan, that arrest was a bit stunning when it happened because it appeared to kind of come out of nowhere during what was otherwise, at least up until that point, a peaceful demonstration. We were told by police that this woman who we saw was taken off the bicycle had thrown something from the crowd earlier, and that police were sticking to their plan of moving in on people who appeared to be causing trouble immediately and aggressively and remove them from the larger group. On another occasion, a man was wrestled to the ground and later tased when he wasn't immediately cooperative on the ground. We saw others arrested here at 14th and Broadway for failing to move out of the area fast enough when the order to disperse was given. Now, it's important to point out, though, that while there were some arrests and altercations, a large part of today's event was peaceful, and in fact, through most of the day, a festival was going on at Frank Ogawa Plaza.
I think today is kind of supposed to be to get people re-excited about Occupy. A lot of people seem to take a break and kind of got worn out from all of the excitement in the fall. And just to reinvigorate people, bring it back out.
As we move forward into the evening, we have made contingency plans, and we have, as a city, a lot of services available to continue to provide a safe environment for anyone who wants to come down, be a part of the marches or demonstrations.
Now, Oakland police will also have a lot of help if they need it. As part of mutual aid, there are police officers, I'm told, standing by from Union City, Hayward, Emeryville, Pleasanton, and the California Highway Patrol. And as part of the reforms announced by Chief Jordan recently, we're told the departments have all been briefed in what Oakland's policies and procedures are with regard to crowd control, and that they will follow those procedures, all the officers, tonight if need be. One other note, I just received some information that planned march to Frank Ogawa Plaza may be rerouted because a lot of those folks say they do not want to be associated with some of the altercations and things that went down here. So they may have actually decided to go somewhere else downtown and not end up here at Frank Ogawa. We'll be here and we'll see. In Oakland, Laura Anthony, ABC7 News.
All right, thanks, Laura. And speaking of that march, Sky 7 HD is overhead, and you can see marchers making their way. They started at Fruitvale BART Station today, then marched to San Antonio Park. As Laura mentioned, we're not certain now that these marchers are on their way to Frank Ogawa Plaza, but let's check in with ABC7 News reporter Jonathan Bloom. He's been marching with them. He's live en route right now. Jonathan.
You can see behind me, this is the body of the march right here. This is a large group of about 1,500 people who marched from the Fruitvale BART station, stopped briefly at San Antonio Park, and now is continuing along their planned protest route, which is headed toward Frank Ogawa Plaza. Now, there are, with some of these people, a group of people who were causing trouble earlier, and we want to show you some video of what those people can expect when they get to Frank Ogawa Plaza. Earlier today, around 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon, police made an announcement that vandalism and criminal acts wouldn't be tolerated. Some folks responded by acting hostile toward the police and their vehicles, and the police responded to that by boxing them in with large numbers of officers and throwing canisters of tear gas or smoke. They won't tell us which was which. The bottom line, the police very quickly regained control of the situation, but not without making several arrests. Police then pushed the protesters out of 14th Street back onto Broadway and told them that they had to stay in Frank Ogawa Plaza where their permit was registered. Now, the group that is marching to meet them, this is somewhat of a different group. This is a very, very large organized protest in solidarity with the international labor movement, which has celebrated workers' rights on May 1st for many, many years and is now gaining popularity here in the United States. They're using this as an opportunity to demonstrate not just in solidarity with workers, but also specifically for immigrant workers and the rights of migrant farm workers here in California, where agriculture is such a big portion of the economy. These folks have a lot of energy. So far, this protest seems very peaceful, and Oakland police are facilitating the protest by blocking streets as these folks make their way north toward Oakland City Hall.
All right, Jonathan Bloom reporting live from Oakland. Thank you, Jonathan. Also joining on this day of protest are the parents of students at 5 Oakland elementary schools slated for closure, but they did not anticipate the crush of Occupy protesters that would join them. ABC7 News reporter Lyanne Melendez is live from San Antonio Park tonight with that part of the story. Lyanne.
Well, the protesters have moved on, Dan. They were rather peaceful, but I can tell you they were not expected here. And let me just explain. Initially, it was supposed to be a rally for education for schools in Oakland. Now, parents, teachers, community members, and, of course, kids decided to protest on this day, like you mentioned before, the closure of 5 schools. They wanted to spread the word, and the rally was to be held at this park, San Antonio Park. But when the Occupy protesters were told to leave Frank Ogawa Plaza earlier, they decided to come here, and they took over this park. Now, after hearing about the confrontations between the protesters and police this morning, parents decided it was not safe for their kids, and many of them left.
We said this would be a safe, kid-friendly march, and it is hard when there was a lot of people. We thought it would be just people mostly from the 5 schools that are closing, but it was a lot of young people, and it wasn't the exact scene that we were expecting.
Now, according to the school district, the school board voted to close these schools. The district has seen years of declining enrollment from 55,000 students 10 to 12 years ago to 38,000 today. Many of the schools that are closing are in underserved neighborhoods that, according to the district, had not performed well, and parents say they won't give up.
The community has built a tremendous amount of connection myself around the teachers and the staff there, and breaking that up interrupts my life.
Now, as you can see behind me, there are still some families that have lingered, that have decided to stay here at the park. But most parents, many of them without their children, have decided to march on with the protesters. I'm live in Oakland. Lyanne Melendez, ABC7 News.
All right. Thank you, Lyanne.
Well, we'll continue to keep an eye on the Occupy demonstrations, of course.